r/EntitledParents. What is up, guys? Mr. Reddit here, back with another episode of Entitled Parents Stories. r/EntitledParents is one of my favorite subreddits, and I really enjoyed making this. Now kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Today we've got 4 awesome Reddit stories that we're looking at. Our first story is called Entitled Parents Threaten to Call CPS and Sue Daycare for Having an Autistic Child. Our second story, You Obviously Don't Need It, and He Needs It for His Test. Our third story, My Father Will Hear About This. And our last story, Entitled Kid Tries to Fight Me Because He Cheated on a Standardized Test. Before we begin, hello to our latest subscribers, Dawson, Arthur, and Audrey. So glad to have you guys here. With that having been said, let's begin. Timestamps are in the comments as well, in case you'd like to skip to a further story. This is a rather long one, so bear with me. I'm on mobile, by the way. Cast, we've got the Entitled Mom, the Entitled Dad, Entitled Brat 1 and Entitled Brat 2, the Sweet Boy, and the Manager. So before some of my health issues, I worked in a few daycare centers as an early childcare assistant. Working in childcare means you see your fair share of entitled parents, but this couple took the cake. It was the start of September, and our daycare had a few openings for new students. I had been at this daycare for maybe a month, and had gotten quite close to the group of 12 or so children, and I was excited to meet any new students we would be getting in. It was midweek when we were told a new family would be starting with us and would be bringing in 2 children. Enter the entitled family. From the moment they came through the door, it was evident that they were going to be a bit of a pain, but you sometimes get difficult parents. Entitled Mom walked in with a "Can I speak to your manager" haircut. Entitled Dad was trying to range Entitled Brat 1 and 2. Entitled Brat 1 was a 5-year-old girl. She was well-spoken and interdependent, but something about her seemed a bit off. Entitled Brat 2 was 4, and well, not to be mean, but he was fat. I'm not talking a bit pudgy. I mean, this was the biggest and roundest child I have ever laid eyes on. Now, I'm far from a spring chicken myself, and were his size not relevant to the story, I wouldn't even share it. Because who am I to judge? From the first few moments, watching this family settle in, a few things became quite apparent. Entitled Brat 1 was mostly ignored by her family, and Entitled Brat 2 had everything done for him. The parents only stayed for about an hour to let these kids settle in, and I thought things would be normal, but oh no. Entitled Brat 2 had apparently taken quite a liking to me, and was super clingy. It's nice to be liked, but we do try to encourage children to play with each other more than the teachers, with one exception, Sweet Boy. Now, Sweet Boy was the sweetest child I have ever had the pleasure of teaching. He was almost 4, loved Robert books and fire trucks, which was amazing since we were 4 buildings down from a fire station, and another girl's dad was a firefighter. Sweet Boy was also almost entirely non-verbal, and he had autism. This meant sometimes he had some difficulties with his interactions, but was overall very happy standing on a stool most of the day, watching the firehouse and playing with his trucks. Usually I worked with Sweet Boy all day, since he had also taken a liking to me. For many toddlers on the spectrum, having someone they are comfortable with really helps with their ability to follow instructions and join in group activities. Entitled Brat 2 did not like this one bit. He was constantly demanding the attention of not only me, but of other staff members too, and when he felt he didn't get it, he would cry. Now, I'm a very compassionate person, but also a no-nonsense teacher. The crying grew more tiring with the more obvious it was how spoiled Entitled Brat 2 was. Not only did Entitled Brat 2 not know how to put on his Velcro shoes, open his lunchbox, or put on his coat at 4 years old, he would demand help, and when told, "I want to see you try first on your own and then I will help you," he would have a fit, crying and throwing whatever he had. The second day they came to daycare, ED pulled me aside to inform me that Entitled Brat 1 had said a child had hit her. Of course, I was surprised, but it is a daycare, and these things can happen. I apologized and told ED that we would keep an eye on her to make sure nothing happened again. I did find it odd since she had spent most of the first day playing by herself, as she had stated she liked her own space. We kept an eye on her all day and nothing happened. We were relieved. However, Entitled Brat 2 had begun hitting many other children and trying to take their toys from them. only to throw more tantrums when told to wait his turn and not to hit. This was especially worrying because of his size, and that most children in our care were quite small for their age. Again the next day, entitled dad comes in, this time with entitled mom, claiming their daughter had been hit. I politely informed them that their daughter hadn't interacted with anyone except for one other newer girl, and that we had been keeping a very close eye on her all day and had not witnessed any such event. Entitled mom grabbed entitled brat 1's arm and said, "Show me who is the boy who hit you." Entitled brat 1 points to sweet boy. I tell the parents, sweet boy didn't even interact with entitled brat 1. I was with him all day. Entitled mom glares at me and says, "That autistic boy should be in a special school for other autistic children." I'm getting annoyed, but trying to remain polite. Sweet boy does just fine in this class, and this is where his older brother came, so he is comfortable here. Entitled dad then cuts in. "That autistic boy traumatized our daughter. I don't want my children going somewhere unsafe." I reiterated the fact that entitled brat 1 had not informed anyone that they were hit, that we hadn't seen anything, and that it most certainly wasn't sweet boy who did it. Then I done goofed. I informed them that entitled brat 2 had actually hit several children. They both insisted that he was just stressed about the new environment. They gave a half-assed, "Remember, gentle hands" to entitled brat 2 and left. Over the next week and a half, there was a new issue every single day. Anything from entitled brat 1 not getting to play with the doll she wanted, to entitled brat 2 not being lifted up to use the slide. He couldn't climb the ladder and was far too heavy to lift without possible injury. No matter what, though, every day came with the accusation that sweet boy had in some way been violent towards one or both of their children. I had been careful to tell my manager, who worked downstairs in the other classroom, everything that had been happening when it was happening, and my coworkers backed me up. My manager was small, but a tough older woman with very little filter, and she was not afraid of conflict. One morning, she decided to stay in my classroom as the kids came in to see firsthand what entitled mom and entitled dad were going to say. Entitled dad says that entitled brat 1, who has begun a habit of taking toys from kids when she wants them and lying constantly, said that sweet boy hit her and threw a truck at her and pulled her hair. I say I had been with sweet boy all day and none of that had happened. However, once again, entitled brat 2 had been quite violent with other children. All week I had been telling them about his discretions. Entitled dad then said that entitled brat 2 is only like that because he has seen sweet boy hurting entitled brat 1 and is picking up bad behavior because he's never like this. Entitled mom instantly started on her rant about how she was going to call CPS to have this child removed from the daycare and put in an autistic school. Em was quick to step in and tell her she had no right to do that he isn't her child. Entitled mom and entitled dad kept going off about how the autistic boy was danger to other children and the autistic boy needs special care. Manager was getting clearly frustrated and said, "You need to stop calling him the autistic boy. His name is Sweet Boy, and that is incredibly disrespectful." Entitled mom said, "Well, he is autistic, so I can call him what I want." Then my manager said something that I didn't expect. "So would you be fine if everyone called entitled brat 2 the fat boy instead of his name?" Entitled mom and entitled dad saw red. They grabbed their children and stormed out, cussing about calling the police. A few days later, manager came to me and told me they had left the daycare but wanted all their money back for the month and wanted to sue us for an additional trauma to their children had experienced due to their time at the daycare. Manager had to go to meet with them and the officials at the Child Care Licensing Board to prove she didn't owe them anything. Luckily, I had documented everything in a dated communication book. The staff shared, and myself and the other staff signed written statements basically saying the children were lying, violent, spoiled brats. Manager also brought the contract with her. They had signed and paid for stating that they would be with us for a 3-month trial period, and including a clause that stated the center required a month's notice to leave. Entitled mom and entitled dad ended up having to pay for the 2 months left in their contract, plus an additional month. I only stayed at the daycare another month, as I caught a very serious illness from a child and was off work for 3 months recovering. But the last I saw, Sweet Boy was doing wonderfully. Next up, you obviously don't need it, and he needs it for his test. This happened last week when I was on my way to work. For background, I'm in a Dungeons & Dragons group that meets every Sunday and Tuesday night, and I have a bit of a knack for losing track of time and just not sleeping on those nights. So when I get ready for work, I stop at a gas station on the way and grab an energy drink and a breakfast sandwich. Because if I don't, I'm absolutely dead for the day and can't deal with the people that I work with and for. I'm also a bit of a chubby 20-something-year-old girl who doesn't really wear makeup. Basically a nice way of saying I look a few shades better than an extra on The Walking Dead, but only because I'm not missing bits of skin. Anyway, I'm getting my sandwich and some gas for my car, and lucky me, I grab the last NOS in my favorite flavor, cherry, it's the best. I then go over to the breakfast sandwich as the most Karen-y of Karens and her mid-teens failed abortion come in. She's getting a coffee and donuts, and her spawn is over by the energy drinks. He begins whining about there not being any on the shelf as I grab my stuff and put it on the counter to be rung up. That's when the little brat sees I have my drink and begins complaining, and lucky me, that brings Karen's attention my way. "Hi," she said, obviously trying to push herself ahead of me in line. "Can my son have that?" My dead stare, though a suitable response was rude. So I shook my head and said no, I just bought it. They may have some in the back though. She took offense and started mouthing off about how I should get one of those then. After all, her son had a test, and they were in a hurry and didn't want to be late. "Then you should probably ask now, so that he's not late. I bought this one and I'm going to be late for work." She narrowed her eyes before continuing to ask and demand that I hand it over despite having already paid. I would also like to point out that the cashier at this point recognized me and knew that I get a bit testy when tired and non-caffeinated. "Hey, how many do you got in the bag?" The mom had a bit of a smug face at this point, but I cracked open my can, which made her gasp and glare. "We have a case left." "I'll take it. Mind if I pick it up after work?" It was about $40 with the 2 for 3 promotion they had going. I paid as she screamed about how that wasn't fair, and now I have enough caffeine to last me a month. Forget you, Karen. No one gets between me and my caffeine. Next up, my father will hear about this. A little background. I am a college teacher since 2011, and this goes all the way back to the first class I ever taught. I taught one of 5 classes that some students needed to be able to graduate, and mine was the last one they attended before graduation. Everyone was really nice. Some students were even older than me, so I was really scared, except for one student. He attended only 2 of 20 classes. He liked sitting in the front and questioned everything I said. Luckily, I was able to give him the right answers, making everyone else respect me as their teacher. But not this student. During the second class, I was getting tired of him interrupting everything I said, but one of his classmates shut him up by saying something along the lines of, "Shut up, you suck." At the end of the class, he told me that he did not agree with the subject of the homework and that he was going to do something else to show me what he really wanted to learn. I told him that it was okay, since I wanted to see what he was talking about. That was his last class, and I didn't hear from him again. Until 6 years later. I received a call from the company where I worked back in 2011, telling me that a guy showed up in there and requested to see me. They told him I didn't work there anymore and gave him my number. They gave me his name, and I did a search in my old documents and found his name. It was the student that dropped from my class. I thought he may be looking for a job or for a career advice. Happens a lot with my students. They seem to think I have a lot of openings in my one-man company. So when I got a call from an unknown number, I answered thinking it was my student. I was right, and here is what I remember from the call. The student. Today I went to college to finish my paperwork to get my diploma, but they told me I had failed your class, so I need to take another one. But I passed your class. Can you talk with them to fix this? Me. I don't think so. That was 6 years ago, and according to the rules, nobody can't change grades after 1 week of submitting them. And also, I remember you. You dropped the class after 2 days. No, I didn't. I was there, and I passed your exam. I remember it. I didn't take an exam. I know. It was a project. I remember it now. It was not a project. I don't know. It's been 6 years. Listen, with the people in charge, I can't do anything. Already did that. You're not helping me. I will tell my dad about this. He hangs up the phone. About 2 days later, I get a call from college about how this student was saying that I approved the changes. I told them I didn't authorize anything and that I believed it was not my problem anymore, so they should fix it between the college and the student. They agreed and told me get all the paperwork I could about the class so they can have some information to back them up. I sent them the attendance list where all students signed every class they attended and the document they sign when they take an exam. I didn't hear from them for about 5 days until I get a call from another unknown number. Me. Hello? Entitled Dad. You listen to me. You won't interfere with my son's future. He is a brilliant young man, and he doesn't have time for your crap. I start recording. Who is this? I'm the student's father. You better get your ass to academic department and fix his grade. He's been really stressed about this, and I won't sit idle anymore. Talk with the guys in charge. I don't have time. They won't help us. You have to change it. Do you know how much of a student's time you are wasting? He needs his diploma now. He took the class 6 years ago and forgot about it. I don't think it really is that urgent. He was busy. I'm busy right now. Bye. They started calling me day and night. I sent the recording to the academic department, and they told me not to worry about it. They will use that to refuse any other requests from them. But that was not the end of it. Apparently, they decided to look for me and all the places they knew I could be located. College, my office, and even my house. Good thing for me is that I'm no longer in any of those places. I teach in another building. I have another office, and I moved since then. So all of their records were really outdated. That didn't stop them. Seems like the son looked for me in all the classrooms he could find, never finding me. The mother went to my old house and got yelled at by an old grumpy former neighbor because she was demanding my new address. But the father got the best answer from former colleagues. He harassed one of them, an older guy, and got his nose broken when he pulled my colleague's shirt by the neck when he didn't get an answer. Never heard from them again. Our last story? Entitled Kid tries to fight me because he cheated on a standardized test. Hiya, folks. It's me again. Just want to let you know that yes, these are the people from my last post. Backstory. My mother has had to deal with these people for years, and I feel bad because they suck. Anyway, this took place in 6th grade, when Entitled Kid and I were 12. This was near the end of the year, and Entitled Kid hadn't done anything to make me throw him off a 20-story building, so it was all good. But I spoke too soon. Enjoy the show. We've got the Entitled Kid. Put a name here in the comments for me. I'll pick my favorite and give them credit. We've got Menstruation Nation's Queen. We've got me. Alright. And then we've got my friend. The story. I had just got off my bike and was heading to school for a math test. I was dreading when the almighty jerk had just gotten there and was running up to me. Entitled Kid. Hey. Yeah? So the math test is today. Yeah, I heard. Do you mind if I sit next to you and take your answers so I don't fail? What? Why would I let you do that? Well, I haven't really been paying much attention to the math teacher, so I know I'm gonna fail. And I care why? We aren't friends. I don't like you. Leave me alone. Well, forget you then, jerk. He pretty much left me alone after that, but it didn't last long. We got to our math room because we were instructed to go there instead of first period for our standardized test, and as I sat down, he sits right next to me, and I'm pretty sure he scooted closer. I didn't really care at the time, but after the test started, I kept seeing him look at my paper and write something down. So I knew he was cheating off me, but I didn't do anything. There were cameras. I was in the right. It should have been obvious he was cheating off of me. Here's what happened the next day. New character unlocked. Principal. Over the speakers. Will Mr. Scooty and Entitled Kid come to the principal's office? Scooty and Entitled Kid to the principal's office. So we get to the office. Principal. Hello, guys. How's your day going? Good. Why am I here? Entitled Mom is standing next to him looking angry. Entitled Mom. You cheated off of my son. Why is this pig talking? What are you talking about? Entitled Kid. You know damn well that you cheated off of me. Language. Entitled Mom ignores the principal. Yeah, you little rat. You cheated off my son. Are you sure he cheated off Scooty? Every question is the same on both papers. We don't know anything. Entitled Mom. Every single question? Principal, with a smirk on his face. Every single question. Let me look at the two papers first. And I couldn't help but burst into laughter. This dumbass put my name on his paper. The look on his mom's and his face was a look I'll never forget. It was like a look of pure horror and a look of, oh no, he's got evidence. We also reviewed the camera footage that did in fact catch 3 other people cheating. Principal tells me to go wait outside, and I do. Where I hear that entitled kid got his test invalidated and his mom got a stern talking to about how it's not okay to condone this kind of behavior. They come out looking completely embarrassed, and I didn't see entitled kid for another week, so I'm guessing he was suspended for being stupid. I thought it was over, but oh no, it was not over. I'm not gonna be a karma whore and put this into 2 parts, so this is gonna be like 2 stories for the price of 1. Entitled kid had come back from his week suspension and everything was fine for a day. Until the next day I learned that he's been looking for me. He wants revenge. So I'm not a snitch, and I know how to defend myself. So the most logical thing to do is to find him, and then I do. Entitled kid.
You a-hole. I'm gonna have to take intensive math classes now. F you.
F you too. I don't care enough to do this right now. Can we reschedule?
What do you think this is, a joke?
Well, yeah, duh. I'm not fighting you. He starts running at me. I'm not gonna get expelled for this. Entitled kid trips and face plants into the ground.
Ooh.
The teacher comes out. New character unlocked. Teacher. What is going on here? Kid in the back who was watching this pathetic excuse of a fight. Entitled kid mutters.
Oh, he tried to attack me.
Friend. That's not true. Entitled kid tried to attack Scooty and then face planted like a dumbass. That's enough. Scooty and entitled kid get to the principal's office. Shut the hell up, dude, for Christ's sake. To make a long story short, entitled kid was transferred to a secondary school. It's a place bad kids go if they mess things up. And I never saw him again, and we lived happily after that. The end. Let me hear your suggestions in the comments for the name. P.S. Some of this was exaggerated for your enjoyment. I can take it out if you want, just tell me. Awesome. Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. For more of the best stories from Reddit, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, and I'll see you very soon with some more of the best stories that Reddit has to offer.